In today's edition of NHL Trade Talk, we're discussing the Winnipeg Jets, the Vancouver Canucks, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. We've got all the latest rumors coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. So if you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Alright, so let's get started here with today's NHL trade rumors. Now my voice is off a little bit today. I'm still battling a cold. I've got a really sore throat, so I'm doing my best here. So if I do sound off a little bit, that's why, just to give you a little bit of disclosure up front. So let's jump in first with the Columbus Blue Jackets. Obviously, as we all know, Jack Johnson has requested a trade that happened some time ago. Reports have been surfacing on that for a while, and it looks as though they finally might be ready to move him. Obviously, they've had a lot of injuries, especially in their back end, and they are expected to get defenseman Ryan Murray back here any day. So that should hopefully alleviate the pressure on the team, and they might be able to finally move Johnson. So obviously, there was reported that there was a fair bit of interest in him previously. So I think we'll likely see that move happen soon. Looking at the teams that were reportedly interested in Johnson, though, I'm not sure really, if you look at the Blue Jackets, between now and the deadline, unless something happens that they really fall out of the race here, I don't see them trading him without wanting a roster player back. If you look at their defense, I mean, their top pairing defenseman is really good. Their 3-4 is not too bad. Unless they're going to go with a younger third pairing, I'm pretty sure they're going to want an actual roster player back here. So that might prove to be a little bit difficult to get a deal done for Johnson. Obviously, he's a pending UFA, so he's a pure rental for most teams, which is attractive in some cases. But obviously, I'm not sure how that's going to impact things. But in my opinion, that deal might be a little bit more difficult to pull off if the Blue Jackets have any intent and staying in the race to try to make the playoffs. Now let's take a look at the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously, a couple guys that are likely going to get moved are Gudbranson and Vanek. Not a guarantee, but both are pending UFAs and highly rumored here to be traded between now and the trade deadline. It's been reported that they may very well end up trying to re-sign Gudbranson, but they only want to keep him for the right price. And if his asking price is too high, then they'll go ahead and move him. A few weeks back, it was reported that the Toronto Maple Leafs might be interested in Gudbranson, and now I've seen reports that if that deal were to happen, that the Canucks actually might be interested in taking Matt Martin back on that deal, so they can actually have some toughness at the forward position. Obviously, since they lost forward Derek Dorsett, they're kind of lacking in that area, so that might be an interesting move to kind of help both teams. Kind of moves Martin off the Leaf roster, brings in Gudbranson to help out shore up their defensive depth for the playoffs. So it might be something that we might see. We're going to talk about the Leafs a little bit further here momentarily, but that might be something that might actually help both clubs. So let me know what you think of that down in the comments below. It's been speculated for some time now that the Winnipeg Jets might try to add a forward or so before they go into the playoffs, before the trade deadline, and now it's being reported that they might be interested in a couple of guys with the New York Rangers. So I've seen a report today that indicated they may be looking at either Michael Grabner or Matt Zuccarello. Now I think Grabner is a more likely option here where he's a pending UFA. I think the Jets have a lot of great forwards already under contract longer term, and I think that they would probably want more of a temporary boost for a playoff run. So I think Grabner might be a good fit. I mean, the guy's really fast. He can score. I think he would fit in well with that Jets team, and that might be an option we might see Winnipeg. Now Winnipeg's also been linked to Rick Nash. So we'll see. I think that's less likely, but it has been rumored and speculated that Rick Nash is not opposed to coming to Canada, and his list of teams that he would accept a trade to do include at least one or maybe two Canadian teams. I know the Leafs are on that list. Doesn't mean that's going to happen, but I know he would accept a trade to Toronto, according to reports I've seen earlier today, and Winnipeg is in that mix as well. So leave me some comments down below. What do you think of Grabner going to Winnipeg? If you're a Jets fan, do you think he would fit in well with the Winnipeg team right now? So now we can talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, the Leafs kind of have an interesting problem on their hands here, and it's probably going to take some creativity from GM Lou Lamoriello to kind of sort this out. Obviously, at this point in time, they've got too many bodies, and they need to move somebody out either to the minors or off the roster to another team. So obviously, right now, they've got forward Nikita Soshnikov, who's just completed his rehab assignment in the minors with the Marlies. He's ready to come back, and they've left him here on IR, indicating he's not ready. That's Lou Lamoriello being very creative here. Technically, I'd like to see that rule kind of get squashed by the league or the PA. Obviously, that's something that GMs use as a loophole here. I mean, obviously, if the guy could go down to the minors, complete his conditioning stint, he played very well. I think he had a point per game. If he can play well down there and not have any issues, why can't he play in the NHL? Obviously, they're trying to do that to buy themselves some time in order to figure out their roster. There's three things that they can do here. They can either take Travis Dermott or Kasperi Kapanen and send them to the minors. They don't require waivers. They go down, they make room, problem solved. Now, those guys have both been playing really well. That's certainly not their first choice, but depending on what else goes down, they may have to do that, at least temporarily. Option number two is that they figure out a trade to ship somebody out, and coming back, they could only take maybe a prospect or a draft pick, something that's not going to go right on the roster immediately, and that might solve the problem as well. The third option is that they go ahead and place somebody on waivers for the purpose of demoting them to the Marlies. That's probably not ideal. If they put Soshnikov on waivers, I can pretty much guarantee you he gets claimed and he's gone. They get nothing in return. Bad option, but it is an option nonetheless. So what are the Leafs going to do here? Obviously, they have an issue where they have a lot of healthy bodies that are producing at the NHL level. It's a good problem to have, but they need to figure it out, and they need to figure it out fairly quickly here, I think, because obviously they can only leave Soshnikov on IR for so long before it kind of becomes a problem. It's not the first time we've seen a team do something like this. Probably won't be the last as long as that kind of loophole is in place. However, the Leafs need to figure something out. So personally, I think that they've been trying to work a deal. I mean, they got Josh Levo, who's requested a trade. I think he'd like to stay, but he wants to play. And if he can't get the playing time, then he wants to move on. Soshnikov is obviously not high enough on their depth chart to really get into the lineup. I mean, they've got too many other players that are kind of moved ahead of them now. And the way Kapanen's been playing, they don't want to take him out of the lineup. So that kind of creates a problem. They've also got Matt Martin, who's been sitting out. And, I think they're trying to make a deal for him as well. So they really have two or three guys that really need to probably move on. Personally, I think what the Leafs should do is they should try, this is easier said than done, but I would take Soshnikov, I'd package him up with maybe like a Levo, maybe a draft pick or another prospect or something, have that two or three pieces together, and I would try to get myself a pretty good defenseman. There's enough defensemen on the market that there's lots out there to be had. I'm not sure they need to go after a top pairing, but somebody who could be a solid second pairing defenseman, maybe like a Tyson Barrie out of Colorado, just to name an example there. There's some other guys, maybe a Mike Green out of Detroit. There's certainly some good options out there. And it kind of creates another problem to have is they've got some good young defensemen playing well, but now they've got way too many forwards. So why not turn one or two of those guys into another depth defenseman? Obviously, if they're going to have a shot at winning in the playoffs, I think they're going to need some more defensive help. And I think personally that's the way to go. But let me know down in the comments, what should the Leafs do? They don't have a whole lot of time here that they can play around with. So they're going to have to figure out whatever their best option is sooner than later. So let me know in the comments, what do you think is the best option? So I certainly appreciate you sticking with me. Obviously, I know I'm not feeling the best here. I got a really sore throat. So if you watched this far in the video, thank you very much. I apologize if my voice again is off a little bit. So thanks for sticking with me. I'm trying my best to keep the content up here while I'm trying to battle through this. Another quick note, in case you missed it in our other video the other day, we now have a Patreon account due to changes coming up here with YouTube. Obviously, we're going to be losing our ability to monetize our videos here in the next couple of weeks, and we'd appreciate any support you can offer. There's a link down in the description below, so if you want to support Top Shelf Hockey, check it out. There's a link in the description. There's lots of different options on how you can do that, so please go ahead and have a look at it. Don't forget as well to follow us on social media. You're going to see a link to our Twitter account right here on the screen. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, and all those links are down below in the description. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. We'll catch you next time.